if I turn on the recording, wouldn't it? So just want to jump into the meeting this morning. So a couple of things. This morning, we're going to continue the discussion. Those of you who were on the call last week, we had a really good discussion about what's next in terms of the programs and so forth. And so I want to do a follow-up to that today. But let's go get started. So I'm sorry. So Sandeep, do you need to run off?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having us this morning. Those who we didn't meet before, my name is Sandeep Bomik. I'm the State Broadband Director here at Arizona Commerce Authority. Our team oversees the broadband and digital equity related initiatives for the state of Arizona. Currently responsible for deploying the BEAD $1 billion funding, which we received from federal government last year, and $100 million Arizona Broadband Development Grant, which is funded by ARPA, and our middle mile network and our digital equity related program. My colleague Erin Lorendos, our digital equity program manager, is in the call, so she will update separately about digital equity. I want to provide everyone a quick update on the challenge process, which is currently under progress. We have 2.5 weeks left for the challenge process. It's closing on mid-May. So I would highly recommend, if you are an ISP in this call, please, if you did not register, please go ahead and register and see if there is an active challenge against your ISP. Review that. You have 15 days to submit a rebuttal. If you have any question or any concern, please reach out to broadband@azcommerce.com or set up an office hour for every Tuesday. There are 4 slots available, and we are taking additional office hours as well. So please sign up and take advantage of the office hours and expert opinion from our team. The overall challenge process ends at the end of June, and there will be a 60-day cool-off period. And after that, we will most probably open up the whole state for BEAD funding. We have to complete distributing this $1 billion before we submit the final plan to NTIA. Currently, our Volume 1 has been approved by NTIA. Volume 1 is under review and very close to the approval. And our team is closely working with with NTIA to put together additional documentation which will fulfill the requirement from final plan. That includes workforce, permitting, labor standards, affordability, and other required points we need to put together for the final plan. All of the sub-grantee selection process, manual, our process to deploy this BEAD $1 billion, everything will be published in next couple of months. It will be open for people's comment, and the comments are not required, but we want to hear from the industry and we want to hear from our stakeholder. So stay tuned. That's the overall update I have, Steve. If there is any question, happy to take those.
Sandy, do I understand that the challenge process is not just for the ISPs? Is that correct?
No, you are absolutely correct. The challenge process are for 4 different groups. So here I would say nonprofit, ISPs, which include tribal ISPs, tribal government, local government. So there are 4 different groups who can participate into the challenge process, can file the challenge, and also can rebuke the challenge as well. But if you see from the historical standpoint, like the other state who went through this challenge process, most of this rebuttal will come from the ISPs, or in some cases, if it's a planned service area, that means if an ISP is saying that we are providing service in this area, but FCC map doesn't show that, that will come from the local government.
Okay. Any questions for Sandeep?
Yeah, Mark Goldstein. Hey, Sandeep.
Good morning, Mark.
I have been seeing for a while that a number of states, at least a half a dozen, are in some contention with NTIA over the low-cost plan and setting a fixed value for that in their BEAD proposals and not wanting to necessarily do that.
Mhm.
Would you briefly discuss what the low-cost option Arizona operating theory is and whether that is going to fall into the category of NTIA contention? You know, Congress specifically prohibited cost setting, and some states apparently feel that the NTIA is not consistent with that original premise.
Sure, I can provide you some update what we did, and I will try to refrain myself, not make any comment regarding the policy. So initially, if you look into our volume 2, which is published currently on ACA website, it said that our low cost option would be $30 for 100 by 20 requirement, 100 megabyte upload and 20 megabyte download and 100 millisecond latency. So basically, which is the universal bid requirement, the ISPs will be basically ISPs have to propose, or sorry, pardon me, I'm driving at the same time. ISPs need to offer this plan as part of these bid project areas. After going back and forth with NTIA, there are two things we have improved. One of the provision was in our plan that if ISPs are not offering this $30 plan, then they are not eligible for BEAD funding. So we took a step back from there, and we basically took this word off so that we are not hindering any ISP who are not offering this plan, and making sure they can also apply for the BEAD funding. So that's one thing. It used to be a gated criteria. Now it's not a gated criteria anymore. The second thing, we changed the range. So after discussing and long time with NTIA, going back and forth with them, we changed the range from $30 to $45. So, and we added a sentence in there saying that if it's more than $30 to $45, then we need a justification that what is the reason it's more than $45 for the 100 by 20 Mbps plan, and the justification need to be derived from the local geography, if it's too hard to deploy, or if for some reason due to permitting the deployment cost is really really high, or some other valid reason need to be driven into that factor so that they're offering that and over $45. And Mark, I'm sure you noticed our scoring criteria as well. So, but the scoring criteria did not change. The scoring criteria still says if you are offering a $30 plan, you get the maximum amount of scores in the scoring criteria. So we kept the scoring criteria same, but we removed the gated criteria, and which will allow more ISPs to participate who does not want to apply, offer the $30 plan. And instead of like a gating criteria, we put there a range. So does that make sense, Mark?
Absolutely. I kind of knew a bit of that, but it's helpful to have you lay that out. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. No, thank you for the question you ask. It really, really makes sense. And it seems like some of the small things we don't think about, you ask us those questions and we can lay it out in front of our stakeholder. So thank you for that.
So Sandy, one question has come up, and we're planning to do sometime in the next few weeks. I'm working on putting together a panel discussion on municipal networks. Can BEAD money be used to help create municipal networks, and particularly in rural communities?
Absolutely, yes. Local governments are eligible applicant. They can apply in partnership with the telecom companies. So yes, there is no restriction there. Steve, they can apply, they can in partnership, they can do that. I would highly recommend the local governments. I mean, we ourselves, you know that tribes
Yeah.
are one of our priority and the priority for the governor. So we ourselves are pushing for tribes to own their own infrastructure. Due to the data sovereignty and due to the way they operate their entity. So, and we're way far ahead in the process. We spoke to them. We are preparing them how to apply for BEAD funding, providing them technical assistance. So yes, absolutely, we are definitely open for that.
So I want to talk with you, Sandy, not today, but again, I want to put together a panel of discussion, one or more discussions, and talking about the federal perspective, as well as, of course, what's happening here in the state and who's doing municipal networks that we're aware of. And would love to partner with you guys on that.
Absolutely. That is definitely an option. And it's been always our focus to work with the municipalities or local government if they want to deploy their own network. Another thing I would definitely want to highlight, and I'm sure Mark will agree with me, Arizona is one of the few states where we have very less amount of electric co-op who's offering broadband connectivity. So that part too. There are states in Midwest offering a significant amount of broadband connectivity through the rural electrification or co-op. They have all the addresses. It's easy for them. They have poles. They just need to hook another line for the fiber. So that's our effort on our side too. And you wouldn't probably believe that, but there are multiple electric co-op who are currently in touch with us and planning to apply for BEAD funding.
So, Sandy, what are you finding of why our local co-ops are not jumping in?
That's a policy decision on their side. I mean, they are electric co-op, so their main focus areas provide electricity. A lot of them, this is a new territory for them. So what the trend we are noticing here in Arizona right now, they're partnering up with private ISPs and started providing this internet connectivity. So I think it's a business decision from their end, nothing to do with the policy or nothing to do with the state broadband office or our process. It's all about their business decision. But the federal funding will definitely open up more opportunities for electric co-ops to participate into this process, especially in an economically distressed area or very rural area here in Arizona where the traditional ISP might not be a good fit.
Thank you. So one last thing, I think you have an announcement, don't you? You have a new staff person?
Yeah, we brought in a deputy director. She started from this week, so that was the last position which was vacant in the state broadband office. And Steve, if you can remember, that is actually a replacement for me almost 2.5 years ago. So that position was open for a long time, and we wanted to make sure that we are hiring the right person by assessing everyone's skill in the team. So we put together the team first and then brought in someone who can bridge some of the gaps between team and, of course, me. So our new deputy director, Amy Dorman, started this Monday, and we are looking forward to introduce her in this call's near future.
Sounds great. Okay, any other questions for Sandy? Well, as always, Sandeep, it's always great to have you here when you can make it. Maybe you'll have a little more time now that you have a deputy director.
Well,
don't count on it.
No, it's a short time frame to distribute $1 billion from NTIA. So this year is going to be really busy. But Steve, I just want to highlight that Erin is here in the call. She will be updating the stakeholders regarding the digital equity plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is it my turn?
I think it's your turn, Erin.
Okay, hello everyone. Nice to meet the new folks today. My name is Erin Larandos. I am also at the ACA with Sandeep. I am the Digital Equity Program Manager. So Sandeep deals with all of the ISP and the infrastructure side of things, and the rest of the team focus on different pieces of that. I get the afterward piece, the digital skills and devices and access and all of that fun stuff that comes once folks have access to the internet. So just a few updates from my end. For folks who are new to this call or maybe haven't seen it yet, we did get a chance to finally post the approved digital equity plan on our website. So I just dropped a whole bunch of links actually while Sandeep was talking to the BEAD challenge process and the office hours and all of that. This last one I just dropped is where you'll find a downloadable PDF of the approved version of the digital equity plan. So for folks who might not know what that is, we spent the last year touring the state and listening to the barriers and challenges that are experienced by various groups. 80% of our population here in Arizona falls into one or more of the covered populations that were defined by NTIA. So a large portion of our state definitely needed to put their comments into this plan. So our plan was approved the beginning of this month by NTIA, and now we're moving into the next phase of the digital equity process, which is applying for the capacity grant at the state level. And this is the dollars that we'll be able to use to implement the plan. So there's nothing that anyone in this group has to worry about with that right now. There will be asks to this group in the future as far as that capacity grant is concerned for folks who are interested in participating in that process further. But at this point, it's all me, all our office putting together our application. And as I mentioned, it is due the end of next month. However, we hope to get it in early. NTIA is reviewing applications on a rolling basis. So, it might behoove us to get ahead of that deadline a little bit if we can. So that's the current plan. And I did want to also provide one update regarding the plan. This is by no means a requirement or a precursor to applying for capacity subgrant, but we are going to be placing a link to a survey in our upcoming newsletter for organizations who think they might consider applying for subgrants from us, just to get an idea of the landscape out there. There are a number of state agencies that we're already planning to do some special projects with, things like that. Those folks don't have to worry about this survey. This would be for organizations who would be applying for a subgrant individually or in partnership with a coalition, things like that. So again, this will not be a requirement. I've seen some states posting surveys that are a requirement to apply. That is not the case here in Arizona, so don't worry about that. We're just trying to get a lay of the land. Corey, excellent question. How will we know when the survey is released? So everybody on this call, almost guaranteed, will get this survey because you're probably already on our lists for webinars and different things. If you're new to this call and would like to be added to our newsletter distribution list, please drop your email in the chat or email us at that broadband@azcommerce.com email, and we can make sure that you are added. Corey, you're on the list, don't worry. If you've ever attended
Corey,
one
you're
of
on
our
our list
webinars,
also. And of course,
Sorry?
we share that all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't hear the beginning of what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that, of course, we will also include that in our newsletter.
Of course you will. Yes. So fantastic. Yes, and I do appreciate that. So basically, it's going to come with our newsletter that our engagement manager, Kelly, who I believe you've all met on a previous call, is currently working on putting together. We anticipate the newsletter will come out around the end of this month. So when you get that newsletter, you will all have the survey link. We also plan on posting the survey link separately through our social media channels. And of course, I will share that link with Steve. I mean, he'll get it in the newsletter, but I'll make sure that he has that link directly as well. And let's see here. What else can I share? Also, upcoming engagements are listed on our engagement tour website. We have a couple of events coming up. For folks who are new, we as an office are traveling around the state again this year to ensure that that we're staying engaged with each community that we met during the planning processes for BEAD and digital equity. And so now we're going around again and, kind of updating folks on where we are in the process with everything, sharing the next steps for both programs. So we are headed down to Cochise County coming up the beginning of May. And that website that I dropped there is where you'll want to keep your eye for upcoming engagements as well. If anyone in this call has any, specific places or contacts with locations that they'd like to present as a potential stop on a tour, you can kind of see where we're headed next on that page, and you can reach out to us and let us know. And we always love to have those local connections to make sure that we're going to the right places. Let's see, what else? I don't have any upcoming webinars from the digital equity perspective. However, we are planning on hosting one in June. It will be the third week of June. It'll be listed on our website probably in the next week or so. That is where we will kind of dive into what our application for the capacity grant actually looked like, where our first year or first couple of years worth of priorities are going to be as far as implementing the plan. And then if we're at a space where we can start sharing more information about the capacity grant, subgrants, and all of that sort of thing, that's where you'll want to be to hear about those things. And of course, we'll continue to come to this group and to every other coalition meeting and anywhere else that anyone wants us to be, so that we can share that information directly as well. Any questions for me?
Super. So I just saw, Aaron, the list of upcoming events. I got the email from ACA, and I will get my newsletter updated.
Fantastic.
Any
And
other
yes, I see I've got a ton of, I'm going to save the chat here before I leave, so I get all of these email addresses. I do appreciate everyone giving me that, and we will make sure that if you're not on our list, you are. But if there are folks who get this, if folks get the newsletter, you can always forward it to your networks as well, and we do appreciate that.
Sure. So I just want to remind you that a lot of the things that we talk about in terms of time, schedules, presentations, and things coming up are included in my newsletter also, so that you can get that information. But certainly, encourage you to check out the broadband office website. And I know you guys are doing some work on updating the website. Okay. We have anybody else from the office on today? I don't think so. So I want to back up for a minute and with a couple of things. First of all, excuse me. Well, he's been here before, but I wanted to kind of reintroduce Aaron Ball with the Center for the Future of Arizona. And Aaron, if you want to just do a quick update, and what we'd like to do is to actually bring you back, and I'll be talking later about doing some kind of a workforce event. But can you just give us a quickie, what we were just talking about before everybody joined?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Apologies that I've been out for a bit, just lots going on, lots to juggle. But Aaron Ball, Director of College and Career Pathways with the Center for the Future of Arizona. And just quickly, the Center for the Future of Arizona is a nonprofit based in Phoenix, but really working statewide. I'm actually in the Tucson area. We lead a body of work, an initiative called Pathways to Prosperity. It's a K-14 plus early college career pathway initiative, really initiated through the governor's office. We're supported through the governor's office, but we have also been able to enjoy several grants working through both on the federal level, statewide level. We have a grant through the United States Department of Education working with 12 high schools on computer science pathways, really getting more young people into computer science and cybersecurity pathways. We have recently been awarded additional grants through partnerships with our national partners, Jobs for the Future, for dual enrollment hubs in the Tucson area, Department of Labor grant with SciTech, and with Pipeline AZ working in rural areas, and then a Perkins Innovation Modernization grant working with Yavapai, Central Arizona College and Arizona Western as well. And really focused in on working with schools to build capacity, particularly around cybersecurity pathways for students. So training for educators, curriculum resources at the middle school and high school level for career awareness. And then one of the things that we're working on with a couple of our school partners is building out a student-led community outreach and awareness project where students would develop cybersecurity, internet safety activities that they could then take to local elementary schools, local communities to really support educating around cybersecurity, internet safety awareness, particularly with the growth in broadband in rural regions throughout the state. So doing lots of great work. Steve, appreciate the opportunity to give a brief update. Always happy to share much more, but I think I'll leave it there and just really glad to be getting connected back in with this group.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. Good to have you back again. And hopefully we can see you a little more frequently. As you all heard, he's got so many things going on. He's a busy guy, but they have been for years have been doing some great work. So we appreciate you being here, Aaron. And
Can I ask you a quick question? Excuse me 1 second.
sure.
Aaron, how much outreach do you guys do to private industry with these programs?
Yeah, a little bit, Rory, but it primarily through our industry group partnerships. So we work closely with, for instance, the Tucson Chamber and the Tucson area, work closely with Phoenix Chamber. We really tried, honestly, not to directly reach out to industry because we know that they're coming together in lots of other places. So really trying to connect in through opportunities like this, regional economic development, regional workforce boards as well. But always happy if a business and industry, reaches out to us to connect into the work that we're doing.
The one disconnect that we find is schools not utilizing resources of private industry that
Yep.
I have, obviously, because technology moves so fast, private industry is much closer to keeping up with it. But the biggest issue is there's no programs for high school students to go to private industry and work part-time or work over the summer, those kind of things. And that's the disconnect we see in everybody that we work with in our industry.
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely something that we have been working with our partners in regions. For instance, the Tucson Chamber really thinking about how we can connect their members up to high schools and support students in those transition points. We've actually been working with Kudelski in Phoenix for 5 years with a youth apprenticeship program where students start in that program as juniors in high school. In a fully registered apprenticeship program. And by the time they complete, they're at a cyber analyst level with a 2-year degree, 4 years of experience. So I think we have some really good models for that. So would love to talk more with industry partners about how we can support that work. So thanks for that question.
I'll shoot you my information. If you guys want to talk about stuff, because obviously fiber deployments in the next year, especially with Arizona spending $1 billion, and IT is a big issue. So,
yep, that would be great, Roy. Happy to talk with you more about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron, and good to see you again. So we had a couple other people who joined us who were kind of new to us, so I'd like to go back and circle back. And Holly Fraschetti, you want to introduce yourself real quickly?
Yes, hi. Good morning. Holly Fraschetti with Mears Broadband, and we are new exposed. We met you, Steve, at the NTT conference, and very interested in learning how we can contribute.
Great, glad to have you joining us this morning. And let's see, we've got one more person that I wanted to introduce here. Eileen, do you want to introduce yourself real quickly?
Sure thing. Good morning, folks. My name's Eileen Harris, and I work with a nonprofit called Human IT, and we're focused on digital equity, so providing folks with laptop devices, digital training, and helping them adopt internet once there's the infrastructure to get connected. So just great to be part of this group. I had a chance to meet Sandeep in March and Peter Costa recently. He had the best things to say about the working group here. And ironically, I was having internet problems this morning, couldn't join as early as I hoped, which is always just great irony in these kind of groups. But yes, really happy to be here and excited to learn more about what you guys are doing.
Sounds great. Okay, well, great, Eileen, and I think we're scheduled to talk tomorrow. So moving on, Judy Soltrip had to drop off with Senator Kelly's office, and she may join us again, but she indicated there wasn't really any change. But while we're talking, Nicole, I don't believe you're on the line this morning. Nicole, you mind? Also the Governor's Interagency Community Broadband Advisory Council working groups have been meeting. Excuse me, they met this week, and they'll be having some new ones. One of the things that's a hot topic right now for them, and it looks like they're going to combine the next meeting to have a discussion about digital inclusion and workforce development. So that's going to be coming up, and I will send, as I always do, once I have the new schedule, I'll send you the schedule and the links to those meetings. They are all open, and people are welcome to attend those meetings. So moving on, Elena, do you have any updates on, excuse me, on ACP? I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, Brenna is actually on too. So I mean, as far as federal
Yep.
updates, she can do that. And then if there's anything, I can talk about. I don't see anybody on. Oh, Megan, you're on from Aiden. I don't know if you have something to talk about today with ACP, but Brenna, do you want to go ahead and do the federal update?
Yeah. So on a federal level with ACP, the discharge petition is kind of it's out there, but we're not seeing a lot of movement on it currently. I think Common Sense and a lot of our coalition partners are still trying to work to get Republican public support of it, but we're also moving our efforts in terms of the Senator Markey's office is sending around a letter to try to get the telecom companies essentially to cover the May ACP benefit for enrollees so that they don't have to worry about the partial benefit that they might not be like fully covered for. And then the last development was this morning, the Spectrum and National Security Act one pager, and the text came out, and it looks to direct auction revenues to fund the ACP. And it looks like they are planning to have a hearing or like a markup sometime next week on May 1st. So lots of moving parts.
Cool. Well, I guess that's better. It's certainly encouraging. Okay. Any questions? Any additional comments? Okay. So I'm going to do some quick updates and some other quick updates, and then I want to get back to a discussion about what's next for us. Excuse me. Mala, I don't know if you're back yet. You had a note from Mala that she had a conflicting meeting and was not available. So I don't know that we have anybody. Megan, are you online? Megan Hammond?
I am here, Steve. Thank you.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. I don't really have any updates at this time, except it sounded like I have one for Aiden, which is just that at our meeting today, we'll be talking about kicking off planning for the Digital Inclusion Week, which will be in October.
You just want to tell people what Aiden is while you're at it?
Aiden is the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network, and it's a little coalition of partners who work in the digital inclusion sphere. And so it's state libraries there, Common Sense, AZ Strut, and we are always looking to add members to the group.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Elena, did you want to add anything more?
No, I think that's it, Steve, for today.
Okay. And Anthony, I believe you're online. Do you want to kind of give us an update? I know you're still kind of feeling your way along, but you want to give us an update. Anthony is the State Library Digital Inclusion consultant.
Hey, Steve, good to be here. Yeah, just in terms of an update, I think we're just working on updating our connectors on a web portal right now. So we're in the process of doing that. and really just kind of brainstorming on what the library can do once this funding comes out, but no major updates outside of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. I don't think we have anybody from Department of Ed. And Mike Holcomb, I don't believe is here today. Mike or Carrie Foote, I don't believe either of them are here today. So let's just move on. Are there any other announcements before I get into a discussion and follow up to the discussion we had at the last meeting? Okay, hearing none. So at the last meeting, we talked about how should we change, how can we or should we change the format of the meetings? And we had some really good feedback and thoughts. So I just wanted to follow up on that a little bit. I want to share with you based on my thinking after that meeting, but I'm open to hearing more, and I'm going to convene a few folks to help flush this out. But here's what I'm thinking based on the feedback that we had. One is that we may alternate weeks, and one week we might have updates like we've been doing today. And people were saying, well, we don't really need to do updates every week. So we're thinking maybe updates and sharing would be a good format for one of our meetings. I think that the meeting we had last time, and even some of the discussion today about who's doing what and getting more acquainted with people would be a good thing. So I'm thinking that one of the meetings would be an update, regular updates like we're doing now, and people kind of doing sharing. The alternate weeks might be focused on, excuse me, on having some more in-depth exchange discussion on specific topics. One of which is a couple of the things that have come to mind, which I mentioned earlier, is municipal networks. And that issue has come up quite a bit recently. And so I want to do a panel. I've talked with several people to start working on getting that in place. Telehealth might be another one, healthcare and telehealth. And there was a lot of discussion about that at the last meeting. And that might be another one, workforce, AI and digital equity, cybersecurity, and others. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of the of our meetings for the future. And wanted to hear about that. Wanted to hear any thoughts or comments you might have before I move on to talk a little bit about the newsletter or summaries and so forth. So any thoughts or comments? Does that make sense? Any other ideas, thoughts? Any ideas for programs that you'd like to hear?
Hey, Steve, it's Shrika. I wasn't on last week and I like your ideas, but one of the other thoughts I just had when you were talking is, could there also be the possibility of maybe breakout rooms for those different topics when it comes, like, I know this group is good at, working together to possibly think about the grant working. So instead of having sometimes separate meetings, since most people are here, if we could have breakout rooms per your areas as a possibility to start that collaboration conversation instead of in the whole body.
Yeah, let me think about that, Sharika. I have my initial reaction is I'd like to not do that, just because excuse me, because it really not everybody's sharing. But I'm certainly willing to think about that and think how that might work. But having said that, that doesn't mean that we can't have some breakout groups meeting at another time besides at our regular meeting time. So I'm thinking, for example, the municipal networks and some of the conversations I've had, that actually could be a rather lengthy discussion. That might even be a couple of sessions. So I think, I guess as I've been talking to folks, that I think we can be flexible, and I would certainly be interested in thinking more about about breakout groups. Any other thoughts that people might have? Any programs or topics you'd like to see us discuss?
Yeah, Steve, you talked in the past about low cost broadband options, discussion, leveraging other approaches.
Good.
So that,
Thank you, Henry.
yeah.
The other thing, like as you mentioned that, Henry, that I also want to look at, and those of you who have been around me long enough know that one of my hot topics is that we need to look at other sources of funds besides the government funding, and how can we get some of those things. So anyway, excuse me. So those are just some thoughts that I have. Does that format, that concept, resonate for people?
Yeah, Steve, I would just maybe suggest also looking through the digital, like the plan for the state, and there may be some very specific topics that even if they don't become a separate group, but maybe like sort of a subgroup of, because it's broken out pretty clearly of which areas the broadband plan and the digital equity plan are going to focus on. And maybe it's covered populations, or maybe, so I would take a look at those.
Okay. And that might be an early one that we want to focus on, Elena. So thank you for suggesting that. Any other thoughts about that? So the next thing I want to talk about is the newsletter. And I get lots of good feedback that people really like the newsletter, but it's also very time consuming. So here's what I'm thinking about the newsletter, is that I am still going to do something every week, but I think that 1 week is going to be focused on upcoming events and timely issues that need to be addressed. And then the following week might be a more detailed other kinds of things that are happening that are not so time sensitive, because it's hugely time consuming. But I will also make sure every week, as I do now, that the recording, the summary of the meeting, excuse me, the attendance list and all that will be available every week. I think that's really important to provide that continuity. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Any thoughts about that? Okay, and I'm also going to be looking at, I use Otter to summarize the meetings, but it became really difficult for me to summarize the presentations that everyone provides. So as you may all know, that I now provide the links to the video and the links to Otter AI that has the transcript. And the thing that's interesting about Otter is that you can click on it, so you can not only read it, but you can also click on it and hear the discussion that took place on that particular topic or the person who spoke. So I may be looking at some other alternatives to that. And then the last thing is that I do want to convene a few folks to help further plan some of these activities. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking for the future here, but would like any other thoughts, comments? Does this make sense for you? What do you think? People are putting comments in the chat. Is that okay? See if they're missing anything. Okay, well, that's all I have for today. Any other things that people would like to discuss, to share, etc.? Hearing none. Okay. Well, if we got a couple minutes, give me just a second here. Let me see what else we've got on here. So Ricky White, we haven't seen you in a while. Do you want to just tell people again who you are? Are you still there? No, maybe he's gone.
Yeah, Steve, a number of people
I
jumped out
apologize.
for
I'm
other
here.
meetings.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
You
Ricky.
hear me now?
Yeah. You want to just kind of give people a quickie of who you are?
Ricky White, I'm a senior managing partner at Blythe & White Consultancy. We're working with several states, including some teams at NTIA, to help with digital equity and broadband connectivity. Our primary focus right now has been working with community anchor institutions, primarily minority serving institutions. So we've done a great job in the state of Alabama, working with 19 HBCUs and MSIs throughout the state. Currently, we've been expanding over to do business in South Carolina and North Carolina. And we just want to keep it moving in regards to making sure municipal broadband or connectivity has a voice through communities that may not always have a voice at the table. So I appreciate being here with you guys, and our apologies that I missed the last 2 meetings from traveling.
Sure. So Ricky, what is your sense in working with anchor institutions? Particularly, it's been a particular interest of mine recently about, excuse me, the well, anchor institutions and what, are they actually developing clear policies and strategies, or people just doing piecemeal kinds of things? What's your perspective about that? I was thinking particularly about community colleges and what's your view there?
What we found is, and this is unilateral, okay? There is a part of corporation organization kind of preying on this freemium of money from the federal government. And so what we've seen is that community anchor institutions need to be roped in, but depending on how you go about your grant funding, you may need 50, 100, 500 of them to do your projects. But most of those organizations don't have individuals that have the technical capacity to understand what broadband or what connectivity can be. So what we're trying to do is be more of a liaison and a voice from the community anchor institutions, whether it's a church, school, community college, or higher education, or even a high school, to be able to bridge that conversation together so that if a telco or infrastructure company comes in and wants to be a part of a project, what does that really mean for their respective community? How can that community sustain having that service there? And it goes back into that heavy aspect of digital equity, and then being able to create workforce opportunities with those community colleges in this case, so they can become community navigators.
Okay, thank you. Mariana, you have a question or a comment?
Sorry, I'm on my phone and I fiddle around to find the unmute. Hey, everyone who's still here, Mariana from 2 groups today. AIDEN, you've already heard about AIDEN, Arizona Digital Inclusion Network. We're meeting today to plan activities for Digital Inclusion Week, as Megan mentioned. Also wanted to mention, I'm sure Steve has already mentioned, maybe at meetings that I was not able to attend, that National Digital Inclusion Alliance, so like our national partner coalition, will be coming to do their annual conference, their Net Inclusion Conference next year at Gila River in May. So it's pretty exciting time for Arizona to welcome all the digital equity and digital inclusion folks to our state. Also wanted to mention that NDIA is doing webinars related to the state capacity grants. And I don't have that information at my fingertips right now, but Steve, I can share that so that if you don't have it on your newsletter, it'll be on the newsletter.
Yeah, I actually, well, thank you, Mariana. And I do have that information, and we'll hopefully, I think that one of them's coming up like the next day or two, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like one is coming up very quickly too, but I think that's more for the state government to learn from, and then for nonprofits and other organizations that may be applying to the state, there's one coming up maybe next week, but yeah, anyway, lots of good stuff going on. And then with AZ Strut, Arizona Students Recycling Use Technology, just want to let everybody know that We collect 7 tons of used electronics every week, and from that, we're able to refurbish and distribute about 150 computers every week. And we are now very focused on 5 counties in Arizona because of a grant that we received from the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So if anybody knows recycling champions, people who are really into the whole circular economy and recycling mission, we are looking for people in Apache, Graham, Greenlee, La Paz, and Santa Cruz.
Okay.
That's my update.
And Mariana, can you send me just a little bit of information about that so I can share that in the newsletter?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody have anything else that they'd like to share this morning? Okay, well, if not, I think we're done for today. I'm going to stop the recording and if anybody wants to stay online and kibitz for a while.
Okay, sorry. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I brought up, I sent you that email. So for anybody who doesn't know, the e-challenge process is basically somebody can log in the state website